pelasan silanganan, alam ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang inirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisiil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong tukaw, may dalagang bula at awit sa paglayang inamahal. Ang islap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lupa ng araw na luwalhati ng sinta, buhay langit sa piling ko. Aming ligaya na pag may mga atin na pumatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Bago pa man magsimulang tumigil ang mundo ng dahil sa pandemya, napakadami na namin ginaharap para lang magampanan ang aming tungkulin. Matugunan ang pangangailangan ng nakararami. Simula sa lungkot na dala ng pagsampa, hanggang sa iba't ibang klaseng trabaho na dinaranas namin sa araw-araw. Kalakip ang pangako ng magandang bukas, patuloy kaming babangon para matugunan ang inyong pangangailangan. Patuloy naming iaalay ang aming oras at kakayahan para mapanatili kayong nakangiti. Patuloy kaming maglalayag sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo upang mapanatiling maayos ang inyong kalagayan. Ilan lang kami sa libu-libong manggagawa sa karagatan na nagnanais ng karampatang pagtrato at respeto. Para sa aming napiling larangan, sana sa araw na ito ang nilaan para sa amin, maisip ko rin kami. Nagmamahal, mga marinong Pilipino.
Sa panahon ng pagbabago at teknolohiya, maraming oportunidad ang nagbubukas para sa isang kumpanya, maliit man o malaki ito. Kaagapay mo ang entrego sa pagtulay ng iyong mamimili tungo sa iyong negosyo. Layunin ng entrego masolusyonan ang bawat suliranin sa fulfillment at logistics sa paraang tama at akma sa iyong pangangailangan. Gamit ng mga makabagong teknolohiya tulad ng auto-sorting machine na kayang magproseso ng higit 10,000 packages kada oras at ang kakayahang serbisyohan ang higit 32,000 barangays sa Pilipinas. Sinisigurado naming bawat lakbay ng padala nyo ay nasa tamang kamay. Bawat sandali, ang padala nyo ang aming prioridad. Saan man sa Pilipinas, lungsod man o probinsya, kami ay matapang na tumataya, mahatid lamang ang inyong padala. Sinisigurado din namin na ligtas ang komunidad sa pagbibigay ng mga solusyon katulad ng contactless payment, katuwang ang GCash at ang Transacto. Hatid namin sa Entrego ang pag-unlad mo. Entrego, from you to there.
Under the direct supervision of the Office of the President, the principal postal hub of today's Philippine Postal Corporation, the post office houses a modern and efficient look, aimed at improving the efficiency and delivery of mails, parcels, and money order remittances. As a member of the Universal Postal Union, the post office takes to heart the huge responsibility in fulfilling its mandate. Day in and day out, you'll find post offices nationwide are abuzz with activity. Mails and parcels, money orders, remittances, stamps, and with our vast network of almost 1,400 post offices, our letter carriers continue to serve the public, even reaching the most far-flung communities of the Philippines. And then, the COVID pandemic happened. The post office rallied on and continued its mission to serve the public in whatever way possible. But in March 2021, the post office started to turn over a new leaf as it welcomed its new Postmaster General and CEO, Mr. Norman N. Fulgencio. Upon his assumption to office, Mr. Postman, as he would like to be known, immediately embarked on a mission to set things right, to make things better. With his own brand of quick response leadership, he introduced and implemented an all-encompassing program across all post offices nationwide, presenting the Hatid Malasakit campaign. Hatid Malasakit is the institution's way of reaffirming its commitment and support in the realization of the agenda of Malasakit and Pagbabago to provide better public service. In just a few months, notable improvements were already in effect. Reforms and improvements were instituted. New processes were implemented. New systems were installed. Modifications in handling customer concerns were also put in place. And so far, our efforts have yielded noteworthy positive results. The future looks bright for the post office as bigger, better, and groundbreaking developments are in the horizon. It's the dawn of a new day for the post office. Para sa inyo, para sa Pilipino, serbisyo publiko, serbisyong derecho. This is our commitment. This is our mandate. This is Hatid Malasakit.
We are the post office.
We are ready. We are ready.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dante Klinkang, the Chairman and CEO of the Manila Times. Welcome to our first business forum for 2022. If you have not been joining our events last year, we organized the series of fora to help bring our audience closer to the news source. And today we'll be talking to the Postmaster General and corporate leader to discuss logistics. I'd like to welcome, first of all, my co-host this morning, Mr. Ben Kritz. Welcome, Ben.
Good morning.
And of course, I'd like to formally greet our speakers, Norman Fulgencio, the Postmaster General, and Ms. Sheila Lobien, who is Chief Executive Officer of the Lobien Realty Group. I'd like to thank those who helped us organize this event today, Intrego and the Philippine Postal Corporation, as well as our organizational partners, the Italian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, the British Chamber of Commerce Philippines, the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Philippines, the Davao Chamber of Commerce, the Financial Executive Institute of the Philippines, or FINEX, the Management Association in the Philippines, or MIP, and of course our media partner, the Manila Times TV. And soon this year, we will have also as our partner, the Cebu Chamber of Commerce. I know we're all eager to have our program started, so let me begin by introducing our first speaker. So Postmaster General Fulgencio has been an accomplished businessman most of his life, but he has answered the call to public service as chairman of the board of directors of the Philippine Postal Corporation from 2016 to early 2021. His progressive vision and malasakit for the post office paved the way to his much-deserved appointment as Postmaster General and CEO since March 15 by no less than our President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. He commenced his leadership by emphasizing the importance of our mailmen, both in the community and the economy, by a request to be called Mr. Postman instead of the traditional PMG or Post-Gen labels. He is fondly called as an action man as he spearheaded and executed the digitalization of all post office systems and reforms in mail operations for a faster and more reliable public service. He is also known for his genuine sense of appreciation for arts, culture, and history, as seen in his revolutionary approach to the new stamps, postcards, and other philatelic items of the Philippines. He believes that the post office is still and will always be the trusted brand of every Filipino, not only in the Philippines, but all over the world. Good morning, Mr. Postman. Sir, you are on mute.
Good morning, Clink. Good morning,
Morning.
Clink. Morning, Ben.
Morning.
Thank you for having us here in your program. We really appreciate for giving us time to present our post office programs and plans. Ano?
Morning, sir. I think, are you in need of assistance for your presentation?
Now we'll start now. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Thank you.
The Manila Times publication headed by Mr. Dante Clink Ang II, Chairman and CEO, Mr. Ben Kritz, columnist, The Manila Times, and to my co-speaker, Ms. Sheila Lobien, Chief Executive Officer, Lobien Realty Group Incorporated, and everyone joining us online, good morning. In past years, the Philippine Postal Corporation or Post Office may not be at the peak of its glory, but we recognize this. Now, we are modernizing our systems and placing institutional reforms to satisfy the needs of the people through responsive, efficient, and dynamic public service. This time, the post office is ready. It is important to start by reviewing the source of the post office mandate. As a member country of the Universal Postal Union, a special agency of the United Nations, it is our mandate to ensure universal access to affordable public postal service of the highest standard. We believe that our greatest strength and edge among other logistic business is this mandate, which entails partnership with and support from all 192 member countries all over the world. The ongoing evolution of the post office is guided by the Hatid Malasakit campaign, which is not only anchored on President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's Philippine Development Plan, but also the embodiment of a true Filipino spirit. The Hatid Malasakit campaign is a people-centered approach committed to include malasakit in every aspect of our public service. Hindi lamang sulat ang hinahatid namin, kundi pati malasakit sa bawat Pilipino. I believe that the Philippine Postal Corporation is the only logistic business that operates in every corner of the Philippines. We are present even in far-flung areas where profit is lacking. In fact, 60% of our post offices operating all over the country are all missionary branches. As you may know, I have spent most of my career as a private businessman in the logistics industry, and it is my fervent desire to contribute to this administration in helping modernize the post office. I believe that the three most important elements in every successful organization are people, process, and technology in the exact order of priority. This is why when I assumed office last March 15, 2021, my first order of business was to boost the morale of our postal workers by providing a more dignified and clean working environment. We resolved the 3-year-old civil service problem last December 2021, which finally gave way for the promotion and regularization of our employees. We also emphasized that there will be fair promotion based on merit and hard work of our people. We waived the 4% charge for employee associations provided that all proceeds shall redound to the benefit of their members. We provided all employees free accident insurance for the first time and assured them that the management is open to hear and solve the needs of our workers. After addressing the needs of our people, our next priority is the reformation and improvement of our overall processes with full speed. This is why a week after I assumed office, I stopped the 75-year-old practice of sending notification cards which caused 2 to 3 months delay in mail and parcel delivery. Today, all our parcels and letters are delivered door to door for faster and more convenient service. Simultaneously, on my first week, we conducted a sweeping operation on all pending parcels nationwide until we reach zero backlog. It is important to start with a clean slate to prepare for the implementation of our new processes. We also started strengthening our customer service to address all the needs of our clients and at the same time to discover and solve inefficiencies in our service. We formed a new team of customer service specialists to handle all our customers' concern for the customer care hotline, contact center ng bayan, presidential complaint center, 8888 portal, and post office social media accounts. I am happy to share that for the first time, the Civil Service Commission Contact Center ng Bayan has included the post office in the top 10 government agencies with the highest resolution rates in 2021. The post office has achieved a resolution rate of 96.55%. Our effort to provide a more responsive and accountable service to the public has started to materialize. From a high of 3,482 complaint tickets in 2017 to 2020, the present volume of Post Office 8888 complaints received have decreased to almost zero in the latter part of 2021. This is another first for our organization. The Post Office remained committed and responsive to the needs of our growing clientele. I take this opportunity to publicly thank all the men and women of the Post Office for making this happen. Finally, we focus on improving our technology to complement our reforms in people and processes. The enterprise resource planning has been included in the strategic programs of the Post Office for efficient services, financial sustainability, and a positive customer experience. The project covers the digitalization of the entire organization, including the mail management system for deliveries, corporate financial information systems for all financial matters, financial counter system for daily transactions, and human resource information system for our employees. All these systems are already complete with the MMS and FCS deployed last January 24. We will continue to streamline our procedures and processes to improve the competence and proficiency of the Post Office. In these ever-changing times, we acknowledge that digitalization is the only way to go for any business to stay relevant and competitive. In light of this, we are also improving our efficiency by upgrading our facilities and employing up-to-date technologies. We have a new and improved Post Office website and soon to be launched mobile application or super app to give online access to all our services anytime and anywhere. Our website will enable online cashless transactions, including payment of customs taxes and duties for parcels for greater convenience and to avoid unlawful practices by unscrupulous individuals. My heartfelt thanks to the Board of Directors, our Chairman, Attorney Raul B. Bendico, the Assistant Postmaster Generals, and all our area directors and managers. This year, we will also put up Post Office concierge kiosks in all airports, train stations, LRTs, and service ports to make our services more accessible and address other inconveniences. We thank the DOTR Secretary, Attorney Art Tugade, for making this possible. I think a lot of people do not know this. The primary purpose of the Post Office is not only to deliver letters and parcels, but also to recognize and immortalize the rich history, culture, and achievements of the Philippines through the issuance of stamps, postcards, and official philatelic items. At the end of the day, the Post Office is proud to deliver not only letters or parcel, but also to deliver hope and good news to the Filipinos through the issuance of stamps and other philatelic items. So far, the Post Office has succeeded in instituting much needed reforms and changes. Knowing that the logistics industry is dynamic and the public needs are ever changing, The post office is committed and ready to proactively address all your needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Postman. Norman Fulgencio. The title sounds quite like that popular theme song, but I may be revealing my age. Sir, if you don't mind, we'd like to ask you a few questions. And at this point, maybe I'd like to give way to my co-moderator, Ben Critch, to ask the first ones. Ben?
Good morning, Mr. Postman.
Hi, Ben.
Okay. I know. I also know the song that Clink is referring to, so maybe.
Ben, you're breaking up a bit. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
All I heard was the revelation of our age. Mr. Postman, maybe while
I can hear it.
Yeah, maybe while Ben is fixing his audio here, let me be the first to ask, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a more of a logistics question, given your background. And this is something that's been on top of my mind for a while now, which is a result of some of our previous business fora, where our guests have said that sometimes it even today it still costs more to send goods from Mindanao to Manila than it is to send goods from Manila to, say, Hong Kong or elsewhere. And during the past administration, the Congress passed the cabotage law, but that was meant to resolve that logistics issue. I was just wondering, maybe I know this is not really part of the PhilPost, but maybe from a logistics expert, maybe if you can weigh in on maybe what else is missing so that we can fully benefit from that cabotage law that was passed from the past administration.
The cabotage laws actually will benefit our country, especially our paying public, because that would give way to the entry of our foreign, more reliable shipping companies. And that would boost probably our not only our supply chain, but also our tourism as well, if that will happen. So that is worth waiting for. Link.
What do you think should be done now? I mean, do we need more infrastructure? Do we need other policies to complement it so that we can feel the full effects? I mean, is it enough just to have an open seas policy? Or I'm sure PhilPost is also feeling the pinch because you service the entire Philippines, right? I mean, I wonder if you have the same experience in cost, in servicing Mindanao and others and remote areas in the Philippines.
I think under the Duterte administration, we a lot of infrastructure has been accomplished. I would say from bridges to ports and other important supply chain roads, and that is much needed in the supply chain, I mean. And that should continue because, our country has 7,000 plus islands, And if we can connect all those islands through building infrastructure, that would be great for our country and for the supply chain. That would bring down the cost of food, construction materials, and all essentials that is needed in those far-flung areas.
Yeah, I hope that can be resolved soon. I particularly like durian, and when you go to Davao, you can buy durian for a very low price, but you buy it from Manila, it's almost exponential the price you have to pay in Manila because of the shipping cost. But let me ask you about logistics because and PhilPost because in the post-pandemic economy, more people are relying on online purchases, and of course they go to the private sector like Shopee, Lazada. But these companies only service Manila, but PhilPost has a national network, a delivery network. Is there any talks between PhilPost and some of these online shopping centers maybe to help bring the capability nationwide through the PhilPost infrastructure?
Click, that is also part of our plan. We are liberating our rules, and the only way to move forward is to have a cooperation with the private sectors, to bring down the cost of the e-commerce parcel business. I believe those big e-commerce is only concentrating on areas where they make a big money. Manila, Calabarzon, and capital cities. But in other areas where there is also a big followers that unable to purchase online because of limited deliveries. That is why we are now in the process of collaborating with this e-commerce companies like Lazada and I think Shopee. Soon we will be having a cooperation for their deliveries nationwide. So,
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. I think Ben is back now. Ben, would you like to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been having some trouble. Apologize for that. Okay. Well, as I was asking you earlier, we've all had to deal with the big calamity of the pandemic, and I was also particularly interested in the outcome of Typhoon Odette. Obviously, that caused some problems too. How is PhilPost responding to both the short-term tragedy with the typhoon, and how have you had to make adjustments to get your job done during the pandemic?
Ben, we admit that COVID and the pandemic and the Typhoon Odette posed really a great challenge to the post office, especially with the suspension of and reduction of flights, both domestic and international. But honestly, we just have to continue. Despite these calamities and disasters, we have to continue and find ways and solution, to serve and bring those much needed food and essentials to those areas where badly affected. Of course, postal facilities was badly damaged. No electricity, impassable road, no communication and internet. We have to initially suspend operations during the initial weeks And after 2 weeks, we continue to operate, 50% until it became normal. We found ways of, bringing all those goods to Visayas. There was no airport, so we have to use our trucks and then use the Roro of the shipping lines. There are many ways of bringing our goods, not necessarily by air, especially in times of disaster. And yeah.
Okay.
What's the last question again, Ben? Did I answer you correctly?
Well, that kind of, yeah, no, that kind of answered it. So how are things going now? Have you gotten back to, have you gotten back to normal? Are you caught up, or is there still a backlog of work that you're what's the access for the area like now in the Visayas?
Well, I would say we are already operating 80%, and we continue to send all those important parcels and letters, food items to Visayas. Now the airport are now open. We now use via air, and we still continue via sea and via truck. So I believe that in the next few weeks we're going to operate 100%, because we are also repairing all those post offices that were badly damaged. But we have used some shelters like those municipalities and other malls and buildings that was not affected in those areas. We're currently using them as our temporary offices. But soon we will be moving again to our offices, our post office.
Okay. Let me switch gears a little bit. Back what first brought you to my attention was a complaint about postal service from a reader, which I think got resolved eventually. But one of the things I'm sure you were aware, well, you were very obviously aware of because you addressed it directly, is some of the inconveniences that postal customers have typically complained about. How have you managed to improve your customer service since you came into the job?
Ben, the customer service that we have established when I assume is manned by more than 20 persons, less than 30. That's very important because that's where all the complaint we're getting from our social media. Nobody's answering, and we understand that. That's why immediately we address that. That is one. What's again the next question, Ben? The customer service I already addressed to you. We are now more responsive in dealing with that. Yeah, I believe you also experienced that. Have you tried that, Ben?
Well, and not for myself, because to be honest with you, I've always had pretty good luck using the postal service here. compared to some other options. But I'd heard from other people, and it actually had somebody ask me to try to help them out.
Yeah.
And that seemed like, well, it seemed like at the time that there was a bit of a disconnection between what happens in Manila in the main post office and what the post office branches that are out in the country may be doing. Have you been able to make service more consistent across the entire country?
Yes, Ben. That problem I remember was the time. I think I was just 1 or 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were just started.
Yeah, and during that time, I already admitted our shortcomings. What else we need? And again, Ben, immediately we resolved those concerns. If you are asking the deliveries, especially in Visayas, the removal of the notification card, that 75-year-old practice already gave, I would say, without the technology yet, 60% increase in speed. From 2 months to 3 months, with the removal of the notification card, the effect is already in Visayas. Probably, well, some of a colleague that I recently heard is that the first time they were able to get their parcel from Japan in 7 days, which is first time. So that means the removal, of the notification card will really speed up the delivery of parcels and mails. So we have addressed that part of our operation, the delivery. The delivery time from 1 month to 2 months now becomes, in Manila, there are a few items that arrive in 4 days, 5 days. Would you believe that? 4 or 5 days. Maybe we are just lucky. But some of the complaints we're getting before from our social media, from a high of 100, 200 a day, now it's only about 10, 5. So that means people are now experiencing what we have promised and committed to improve our process. That's only the process, Ben, not yet the technology. That means there is still room for improvement to expedite the delivery of our delivery capability.
Okay. Clint, do you have a question?
Well, yeah, there's a comment here. It's not really a question because I suppose this has to do with inbound mail coming in from, or mail or packages coming from abroad. What is the working relationship between PhilPost and the Bureau of Customs? Because we see in other countries, particularly in the US, there's a backlog of deliveries because of COVID. Fewer people are able to come in, and then there's this big surge of goods coming in. Is there a similar problem in the Philippines, and how is PhilPost working with say other agencies like the Customs, the Bureau of Customs, to resolve those?
Link, we have already resolved that. In 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
Give me 2 weeks more. Definitely this coming Feb, our online payment system for the duties and taxes will definitely happen this month.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
that means whatever issues, problem they have encountered before, I don't want to know it, anymore. We are here to solve the problem. We are looking forward in solving this decade of problem that we are experiencing. So hopefully this will create really a tremendous impact to the both buying e-commerce, and
Yeah. Yeah.
which is very popular now. This will give them more room to buy. This will help our OFW to uh, uh, expedite our delivery and processes in the Bureau of Customs now. The Bureau of Customs has been very cooperative with these proposals, and I've been talking to them for the past few months, and finally came to an agreement that, let's do this.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it will happen in the next. Last week I promised next week, but
Yeah,
now
you're on
next
top of
week I
it. Yeah.
promise. I'm top of
Okay.
it. Definitely, it's going to happen in February.
Okay. Sir, last question. Since this is the political season, I was just wondering if there's an opportunity for you to talk to the next president of the Philippines. What would you like from the next president so that they can help improve PhilPost? Ano po
Sorry,
ba kailangan nyo pa? So kung makakausap niyo po yung susunod na presidente, ano po bang gusto niyo sa kanila para mapabuti pa yung PhilPost?
I think somebody who has a knowledge in logistics has to man the Philippine Postal Office. We cannot just appoint, politicians who lost the elections and continue. It will, how do I say this?
Kailangan
To be
professional.
very frank here, but that is the reality
I don't mean to put
of
you
the
on the spot, Mr.
situation.
Postman.
Huh?
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
But you know what I'm saying, Klink?
Yes, sir.
You
Kailangan
have
professional.
you have to send somebody who has knowledge in supply chain logistics.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your
Whatever we
time.
have done here during the Duterte administration.
Okay. Thank you very much po, Mr. Postman,
Thank you.
Norman. For Mr. Norman Fuencio, maraming salamat po. Oh. Can you hear me, Mr. Postman? Ben, can you hear me? Is it me or?
Yeah, no.
Okay, all right. I think, well, I wanted to say thank you to our postman, Norman Fulgencio. I think he's having some technical issues on his side, but we hope that he gets what he wants, and wish him all the best because his success, I think, will benefit every Filipino. I know when I send stuff and receive things from the mail. But moving along, Ben, would you care to introduce our next speaker?
I'd be happy to. Let me say good morning to our old friend Sheila Lobien, who is
Morning, Ben.
Hi, good morning. Sheila is the Chief Executive Officer and the driving force in putting up the Lobien Realty Group, which is a full-service real estate consultancy and property investment strategy firm engaged in commercial and office space leasing, capital investments optimization, and property acquisition and sales. Sheila advocates women empowerment and currently chairs the Women in Business Committee of the European Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. whose key activities provide an avenue for mentoring, networking, and other social activities geared towards uplifting women professionals in the Philippines. She's a graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Tourism from the University of the Philippines at Diliman, and took up the Management Development Program at the Asian Institute of Management, a Master of Business Management at the University of the Philippines, and Management Executive Program at the National University of Singapore and the INSEAD Business School. Good morning to Sheila. Take it away.
Good morning, Ben. And again, thank you, Manila Times, Clink, for having me over. This is the first forum for the year, right? So again, congratulations and Happy New Year. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be part of the Manila Times Forum. Let me just flash my screen before I start my presentation. All right, there. So this morning, our topic is, the Philippine logistics industry scales big and high, and we see that in the real estate market. So today I'll be sharing some recent numbers, some trends, and possible projections in the industrial market. So for us in the real estate industry, when we say logistics, that's heavily related to what's happening in the industrial segment of the real estate market. And when we talk about industrial real estate, so we'll focus on the warehouses, the storage facilities, cold storage facilities, and today you probably have been hearing a lot about the data center. So that's some of the topics that I'll also cover this morning. And I'd like to start by, sharing some positive news, or I'd say good news, because today positive has a negative meaning to it. So let me share some positive news. This, as usual, this is the COVID-19 cases per million. And as you can see, the Philippines were in the middle. The current administration has not allowed this pandemic to be, out of control and to spiral. And when you look at the economic side, in the ASEAN countries, as you can see, almost all the ASEAN countries will be posting positive growth rate this year, and of course in 2021 as well. And when you focus on the Philippines, our numbers, they're pretty decent. So for 2021, we're expected to post 4.5%, or some are saying we might even reach 5%. For this year, 2022, we are actually feeling the improvement in the market despite the current surge. We're looking at 5.5% growth rate this year, and some economic managers are already saying that we might even, reach 6% this 2022. And just quickly touching on and showing you, the performance of the Philippines. This is the GDP performance over the last 25 years. And as I have shared in the recent forum also, when you look at, Asian financial crisis, double dip there, SARS, quick recovery, V-shape, the global financial crisis, which we have seen, the most recent crisis, double dip as well. And today, this is a combination of health and economic crisis. And we've seen the lowest decline in our GDP. But the good thing is, this is, quite, when we say, artificial, because this is mostly health crisis. And once this pandemic is somehow addressed, which the current administration is doing, we think that the recovery will be fast. And many Filipinos nowadays are vaccinated. And I'll share with you some numbers on that as well, which is greatly positively affecting what we see also in the property market. Again, this one, just to drill down and show you where the contraction came from. So we'll look at the major regions here in the Philippines. So that's NCR, where of course all the major CBDs are located, and Central Luzon and Calabarzon area, where most of the warehouses and manufacturing sites are also located. So as you can see, the hardest hit regions are the ones who have experienced the hardest lockdowns. And obviously, because bulk of the economic activities, they are still centralized here in Metro Manila. Many people are here, therefore, we've experienced the longest lockdowns as well, and several lockdowns already. And because of that, you saw the biggest decline in each region's domestic product. And when you look at the vaccination rate also, it's not surprising that the current administration has focused their efforts in vaccinating the population in this area. Because when you combine these three regions, they comprise more than 50% of the Philippine economy, or, our GDP. They're coming from, NCR, where most of the big companies are located. The central business districts are here, and Central Luzon, Bulacan, Pampanga, etc., and Calabarzon area from Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon. So these areas right now, we have the highest vaccination rate. And I think this last surge that we've experienced, though the numbers really were scary and high, but in terms of death rate and hospitalization rate, it was not as, compared to 18 months ago, 2020, it's not as severe and high compared to those year. So these are some of the good news. And, we feel that once hopefully this pandemic will end soon, the market will recover fast, because the economic fundamentals of the country up to today, they're very strong. Big population means more people will consume, more people will need real estate. And that's why a lot of countries are coming here in the Philippines. And when you look at the fiscal side as well, and Mr. Postman earlier talked about logistics and the connectivity, connecting different islands so that people can receive their goods, their packages easily. We need to support this, and the Build project of the current administration is helping, prop up the economy, provide jobs, and we need that to also increase the attractiveness rating of the country. And in the last how many years, we've seen the current administration spending a lot on this infrastructure projects, from airports, seaports, railways, connectivity, etc. And the current administration also is expected to spend more in the next few years on this several infrastructure projects. Us in the real estate market, the Lobien Realty Group, as shared, we are always monitoring these 4 key performance indicators. And as you can see, the trajectory, they're all going up. GDP from construction is up, building permits as well, they're up right now, which means companies, big firms, and even, of course, the government, they're continuously doing projects, construction, building, and that's fueling the economic activity at the moment. Real estate loans from residential and commercial segments as well, they're growing and increasing, and that's heavily supported with the very low interest rate that we are enjoying right now, 2%. And again, now I'd like to focus on the industrial real estate market, because when we talk about logistics, that means, the industrial real estate segment for us here in, focusing on the property market. And I'll talk about the warehouse, the logistics facility, cold storage, and data center as shared. And earlier this year, and even, the last few months, we've seen some recovery already. Many companies are preparing for their, back to work. Hopefully, after election, we'll see more movement, positive take up in not just here in the warehousing industry, the market, because today it's a booming industry of the property sector, and the office segment hopefully will move again after election, or once they're back to office by hopefully before mid-year. So Philippine logistics market at a glance, as you can see, it's a thriving industry. The forecast is that it'll grow by 8%, 8.2% annually, and in the next 3 years. The entire logistics and warehouse industry is also projected to reach 1.1 trillion in terms of revenue by 2024, and that's 2 years from now. There are so many challenges still, and definitely our infrastructure will have to improve in order to support the robust growth and the projection in the logistics warehousing market. And just to show you, again, focusing on the 3 regions, which I have shared, they comprise more than 50% of the country's GDP. They're coming again from NCR, Central Luzon, and Calabarzon. So when you look at the major industries in this areas, you'll note that bulk of the manufacturing warehouse facilities, they're in the Central Luzon, Calabarzon area, and in NCR as well. And in the metro, warehousing facility storage, they're getting more and more expensive because the demand is so high. And I'll tell you more about that. That's because of the growth in e-commerce. Everyone's buying things online, and that's why there's this need for bigger warehouses, storage facilities everywhere. We just plot and looked at the manufacturing, economic zones, and it's supporting what we've shared. When you look at NCR, Calabarzon area, and Central Luzon, you'll find here, we saw, that there are like more than 70% of those manufacturing economic zones, they're located in that area. So these 3 big regions, they're heavily supported by the manufacturing sector as well. Of course, when you look at NCR, the service industry is the biggest chunk. And we see similar trends and similar pattern as well when it comes to real estate renting and business activities by region. And you can see from here that Metro Manila, of course, up to today enjoys the biggest chunk. And many players, I don't want to promote any online shoppers or shopping portal, but all of them are heavily concentrating and focusing here in Metro Manila, because almost bulk of the action, they're happening here still in the center. This is still the center. So people are now forced to buy things online. Either they are, of course, avoiding to go out and get sick. And somehow we are now so used to it. The cashless transaction, everyone are quite familiar with that today. And again, followed by NCR, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon. So in those areas, the renting and business activities are very active. And this, of course, is driven by the growth in e-commerce, and the warehousing business is growing heavily also because of that. Just to show you also the warehouse and storage, profile and landscape. There are more than probably right now 2.5 million square meters of warehouses all over the Philippines. These are the, I'd say, quality warehouse or still tenantable, usable warehouse, because there are some old warehouses that we do not really track or monitor. But as you can see here, they're divided into 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So 1/3 of them are still located within Metro Manila. And then 1/3 in the Calabarzon area, mostly in the Cavite, Laguna area, where there are a lot of manufacturing sites as well, those economic zones. And then the rest are spread all over the country. We have Cebu, Davao, etc. in those areas. Us here in the Lobien group, the property sector, we monitor several available warehouses in the country. And mind you, bulk of them are fully leased because the demand is so high coming from this e-commerce and several logistics companies. And 13% are still here in Metro Manila. We have some supply here. But bulk of them, more than 50% are already in Laguna, Cavite, wherein there are still big chunk of land, developable land, and storage facility or warehouse or manufacturing plant in those areas are still quite affordable compared to having it here in the metro. Rent here in the metro is already double. So if you want to cut costs, again, there are options to go. You can go outside NCR. But then bulk of the actions, the activity, they're happening here in Metro. And therefore, that's why almost all the big warehouse facilities here in Metro Manila, they're taken, they're leased, and the rental is way higher compared to what pre-pandemic levels. It's sometimes getting near to that office rental rate when it's just a warehouse facility. Then looking at it as a business, on a business perspective, the warehouse and storage solutions, is it a profitable industry? And definitely the answer is yes. That's why all the big players, major developers such as the likes of Ayala, SM, Robinsons, etc., they're already in this segment. They call that industrial market. And it's a profitable industry. The total revenue, cost, and return on revenue for that segment alone is, right now, double digits. And the revenue per employee, per warehouse employee is 1.8 million pesos. So that's quite big. The warehouse and storage as a business for us in the brokerage, in the property sector also is very attractive. And as you can see, from 2010 to 2017, the industry has grown 10 times. And the average transaction right now on an annual basis is 1.5 billion pesos. So there's a lot of business to be made in this sector as well. Now, you might wonder, okay, where is the demand coming from? And we know this already, and somehow we have a feel of this. It's coming from, the e-commerce sector. So when you look at the percentage distribution of warehouse demand in the Philippines as of, first quarter 2021, so we look at it per industry, and almost half of the supply were taken by the e-commerce, or the likes of Shopee, Lazada, etc. And followed by third-party logistics company, manufacturing, retail. So there is really a big demand coming from these companies right now for warehouse facilities, either cold storage or just an area, temporary site to redistribute all the goods to where where we ordered. Then just a glance also on the e-commerce industry, and this industry is heavily supporting the growth of the logistics market, the growth in the industrial market. And e-commerce, as we know, in 2015, it was just a $500,000 US dollar market. Today, the forecast, is that by 2025, we will reach 12 billion. So the industry is being looked at. It's a booming market. It's growing how many times? 4 times in the last, 4 years? And everything can be bought online now, except, the travel and the hotel, etc. But when you look at that, everything you need can be found online, and you can buy that. And we Filipinos, we're so used to, our cell phones. Everyone's everyone is into social media. And 70% of us already are online shoppers, and more than 50 million Filipinos are engaged in e-commerce. And we know this, people can buy things anywhere from your Instagram to your Facebook to all the online platforms. And all these activities, they're supporting the growth in e-commerce, in the warehousing business, in the logistics market as well. So just to show you where the opportunities are right now. So these 3 things are the hot items, I'd say. Data storage or data center, retail warehouses because of the growth in e-commerce, and then cold chain because of the vaccine, the food that we have to import, etc. So in the data storage alone, the demand right now is really huge. And if you have, if you're watching and you have a big chunk of land out there, let me know. We have a lot of clients who are helping to find properties because they have plans to develop a world-class data center here in the country. And the requirement is between 2 hectares to 5 hectares of land near NCR. So Calabarzon and Central Luzon area. Of course, the usual, it has to have the infrastructure, flood-free, power, telco, accessibility should be there. So this market is growing because there is this push to store data in the country. So this right now is the hot item. And then the retail warehouses, as shared, they're also heavily growing. And many of them are still looking within Metro Manila because people are still ordering online, especially here in Metro Manila. And it's not easy to find 1 hectare within Metro Manila right now. And cold chain, there is a big demand here and very little supply because we don't have a lot of good cold storage or cold chain facility in the Philippines yet. And many developers and even individual investors are looking at focusing on this as well. So these are the top growth opportunities in the industrial logistics market today. Now, challenges also. So I cannot talk about opportunities without looking at the challenges that we have. And just briefly showing you, this is data from the World Bank Logistics Performance Index. The Philippines is just slightly better than Cambodia and Myanmar. And when you focus on between 2014 to 2016, we've seen a decline there, and probably that was, and I think that was because of the port issue back then. So our ranking is 77 out of 207. Long way to go. We are far from our neighbors. Even Vietnam, they're way ahead of us. So there are so many things to be done, and that's why we need to support the Build project. And another here from World Economic Forum Infrastructure Quality Rank. They look at the 12 pillars, and one of them is, of course, the infrastructure. And we need to improve there. A lot of room for improvement there. Our rank is 90 out of 140. So long way to go. And that's why the build thing has to be supported. And it's very important for the Philippines to be more and more attractive, for big companies to come here, invest in the country, to support the growing logistics program and plans and the growing e-commerce business as well. And we need better infrastructure, connectivity, connecting roads, connecting all the islands, so that the cost of goods also will go lower, because it would be cheaper to transport them all over if we have a better infrastructure and better systems, so flood control facilities, etc. This is really needed to support the growth that we are anticipating. And finally, just few takeaways in summary. As shared, the growing warehousing industrial segment of this country, of the real estate market, they are heavily focused. And the main, hot, I would say, item would be data storage, the data center, the cold storage, which the country lacks today. We still need a lot of good cold storage facilities in the country. And then the growth in the e-commerce also fueling the need for better, bigger warehouses all over. So the challenges, as shared, of course, our infrastructure, we need to improve that. And that's why the Build project has to continue. Better seaports, airports, roads, bridges, etc. And we have to get all of us vaccinated and boosted, because that's the only way to go. We have to address this pandemic. So, locals, everyone will be brave and confident to go out, to move and spend and have this the Philippine economy move back to pre-pandemic levels. Without that, then it's going to be quite challenging for everyone. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding my presentation focusing on the industrial market. And again, if you have any real estate concerns, let me know. Happy to help you there. So over to you again, Ben and Clink.
Thank you, Sheila. I mean, it's always a pleasure listening to you, because I feel a bit more confident with your upbeat messaging all the time. You always see the bright things, and it's refreshing. Thank you for that. I was just wondering
that in the market, so we're sharing it whenever
that's great. That's great. That's great. I think we need all of the good news that we can get these days.
True.
And I think you've done that this morning. I was just wondering if you're working with the post office, because I don't know if you know it, the post office has a lot of real estate all over the Philippines.
Not yet. Maybe you can connect us.
Interestingly, the post office locations are normally in the center of town, or in business districts. I mean, I guess by necessity in the past, right? If you haven't done so, maybe you might want to reach out to
the
PhilPost to see what public-private partnerships will be will be possible. Ben, you want to start us off because
Yeah, let's see. Now that I've spent the last half hour fussing with my internet connection, let's see if this works. One question that comes to mind just right away. You mentioned data warehouses, and that is in several respects there's really a big boom in that. One of the areas, although I kind of cringed to mention it, one of the areas that's kind of booming is in the cryptocurrency environment, particularly since they're getting run out of, other countries that they're in. Have you run into any of that business yet? And beyond that, in the real world, there's also a lot of expansion in things like streaming services and things like that. What's the you mentioned a positive outlook for that, but is there anything big in the works that you could hint at? Obviously, couldn't share details, but, is that expected to grow a lot? Because that's one area that is it's kind of problematic in some ways, but in other ways it tends to generate a lot of business very quickly, at least in your in your sector.
Okay, Ben, good question, but really I have not encountered cryptocurrency, that kind of business connected with the data center requirements that we are currently servicing and what we are also seeing in the market today. The data center activity, these guys started to, come in just early 2020s, the big ones, those who are thinking of doing a world-class type of data center, not the small type that you probably have seen here in the country. So, and their main goal is to support their clients who are, of course, doing business already here in the country and have required them to have a data center located here in the Philippines. And that's why they're here. So it's demand driven. And what's supporting their growth, it's not from the cryptocurrency business or that type of business. They are coming from the big, I'd say, software companies. I can't name the companies, but they are the big ones who are here. Maybe we know the guys like, our social media. We're so heavily using this big internet companies or social media platforms. So many of them are requiring their data center to be hosted here in the country, and several other companies as well. So there is that growth that we're seeing, and they are a shared planning to build a big chunk, minimum of 2 hectares at least, like 10,000 square meters. That's the floor plate footprint. It's really big, and the power requirement, the technological requirement of that facility is also very high. Probably we've not seen yet. Because according to them, there is no world-class data center built yet in the Philippines, and they're doing that now. They're starting to build it. So I don't see any relationship yet with the cryptocurrency thing. That
you might want to keep your ears open, because I have a feeling that may suddenly appear, kind of how the pogos suddenly appeared a couple of years ago.
True.
Here's a more general question, since where everybody's fixated on politics. What kind of in a general sense, what kind of policies would you like the new government to consider to support the logistics industry, since this is a big, big positive or potentially positive area of growth for the whole economy, not just your business. What do they need to do to support it?
Well, I don't want to go political, but as shared, the biggest support the government can do really is to keep focusing on the build project, the infrastructure, because that's really what we need. There are many big properties out there, but it's not accessible. The roads leading to the area is not good. And we need the help of the government to fix the road there, right? The connection. So I think in that respect, that's the biggest help that we can get. And it will benefit us in the property market, of course, the logistics sector, because their cost also will go down if the locations are connected and accessible, and transportation and transporting one good to another is easier and cheaper. So those will translate to a lot of economic benefit also in several business sectors. Policy-wise, let's leave that to the legal team and the politicians to think about how they can incentivize these big companies to come here in the Philippines and employ a lot of locals, and build world-class infrastructure, because that alone will also provide employment, right? When they start building, constructing, they will of course employ construction workers, big companies, and all that, and it's going to be good for all of us, not just us here who are focusing on the real estate market.
Okay, Clink, you have a question?
Well, there's I'm not sure if this is really a question. I think they're more of prospecting here. There's a message from Stephanie Valderrama, and I think she's asking, about the size of the warehouse. He said, are you in need of at least 2 hectares? And not less than 2 hectares, is that correct? I don't know if she has property to offer here.
Maybe she has. Okay, I'm willing to look at it. If it's within Metro Manila, it's hard to find anything
How did they get a hold of you?
You may give my contact details, Click.
Okay.
You can get it from Manila Times.
Okay, you don't want to broadcast it worldwide.
They can Google Lobien and they'll find everything about
Go to the
us.
website or contact us. We'll give you Sheila's contact.
Or Google Sheila Lobien and you'll find a lot of information about us as well.
Sheila, I just want to ask quickly, are you worried, that, the pandemic has shown people, Manila Times included, that people can work from home? Is that a concern in the industry that that might dampen the demand, at least for commercial office space? I know there is a booming demand now for warehouse space, but is there a concern, or will the industry adjust? What's your view?
Well, that's a very good question, Click, and many are always asking about that, right? The back to work, what will happen in the office market?
Yeah.
I think the industry will adjust. There will be some correction, and eventually that it will be a blended, a mestizo kind of work environment wherein you have days wherein you can work from home. But I don't think you will still, you'll enjoy it if you're just fully working from home, especially if your job entails meeting people, looking at projects or sites, etc. So it's going to be a mix of both. And there are a lot of outsourcing companies right now, BPOs, preparing for back to work after March, after their PEZA incentives are not extended. And I think Secretary Dominguez is quite firm on that. Looking at beyond March, he said he might, I don't think he will extend that benefit. So many companies are looking at having a hybrid type of work environment wherein their people can be probably in the office 4 or 3 times a week and then work from home in other times. Because there are, well, we must admit, and let's face it, there are still a lot of Filipinos who do not have a good working environment at home.
Yeah.
So imagine your wife, your dogs running around, shouting, etc. It's not a good environment. And that's why we still need the office. So probably it will not go back 100%, but it's going to be a blend of those things. And I'm sure after election, we'll see a lot of movement in the property sector and in the business environment as well.
Yeah, well, what I found interesting is before the pandemic, there was some initiatives to develop townships. I was wondering if that trend has accelerated because of the pandemic, because you don't have to go far. I mean, you're within an enclosed community, which I think is ideal for when you have a health threat existing. But is there also an uptick in mixed use buildings, because I think that for areas that are already developed, like CBDs. I'm not sure if that's a trend at all, or maybe you can enlighten us.
Yeah, the mixed use township projects, they are
Yeah.
continuously moving. Link, that's a very good point to make. And I share, even before pre-pandemic, it was already growing because
Yeah.
back then our challenge was the traffic, right? It was
Right. Right.
the 4 hour commute daily, 2 hours from your home to office in the morning and then 2 hours again at night. It was crazy and not good for us physically. And that's why there's this push and growth in the mixed use development wherein you work, live, and play in one area. So Metro Manila's mixed use developments are already, congested
Right.
and somehow
Right.
at the peak. And that's why all the big developers now are looking at outside Metro Manila. And that's true because 60% of those planned and current projects are already out of NCR. So there
Right.
is this push there. So bigger land to develop, cheaper
That's
also,
interesting.
compared to
That-
Metro Manila.
That's interesting. If someone's looking to invest, of course, you're saying that the exciting areas are outside of Metro Manila. Where should they look at? Should they look at Iloilo? Should they look at Bacolod? Should they look at maybe Davao? What's in your view the most exciting place to look
Exciting.
at? Yeah.
Well, depending on your budget, no, and how much funds you
Yeah.
have to invest. Of course, Metro Manila is the
Still.
yeah, it's the biggest market, but then land values are already very high. Near
Yeah.
Metro Manila, there are still a lot of good opportunities, and that's why with this infrastructure improvement, we see development in the nearby towns that because now they're easily accessible, right? Like from Manila to go to Pampanga, Clark area is so easy right now with all the new skyway and bridges, the recent infrastructure that the current government has done. So with all these infrastructure in place, there are so many good towns near Metro Manila now that are worth looking at. And you may call us if you want some advice.
For more details, you
Yes.
have to pay Sheila Lobien
Happy to
Realty
help you.
Consultancy.
You can do that.
That's very interesting. Ben, you have something else?
Well, yeah, I mean, I almost hesitate to ask this because you're generally so upbeat, Sheila. But I'm curious, what are the what are the red flags or the points of hesitancy to people who are investing in in warehousing and logistics? What are the negatives that you have to kind of work around to get them to sell it on it? What do they tell you about power, traffic, whatever? What makes them hesitate, and how can that stuff be improved?
Well, thanks, Ben. I'm optimistic, but I'm also very realistic because we see the movement in the market. We're always on the ground, so we feel what's happening here. And these companies, like you mentioned, what are the challenges? So I will again repeat that. And it's really the infrastructure that we have. So when they are, let's say, for example, a big online shopping company would look for a warehouse, they're still limited to Metro Manila or the nearest town because they have to be near all these population and bulk of the population, people who are buying online, they're set in the central business district or in Metro Manila and then the nearby towns. So they can't really go far and save on cost by doing so because it's gonna make their transportation and delivery cost high as well. So these are some of the challenges. It's not that easy also to find big properties location in the metro because land values as shared is already high, and some investors would rather build an office project or a taller building, not a warehouse, to make the best out of their property. The highest and best use of their land, of course, is to build towers instead of just one flat warehouse facility. And that's why we're encouraging them to move outside Metro Manila, since rent there is still low and land value there is still low. So we can only do so when all these challenges are already addressed. And some of them also, they don't want to go outside Metro Manila because there's toll fees involved, right? So that cost will add up to the delivery fees and all that. And the cost of goods will also move up. So those are the things. That's why the Metro Manila warehousing industry now is so congested, and price have gone double because of all these demand. Everyone's buying things online today. So
Ben,
that's the negative side.
yeah. Ben, I think our other speaker, Postman Norman Fulgencio, is back with us. Sir, can you hear us now? I think he had some technical issues earlier. Mr. Fulgencio?
Yeah, sorry, Clink, about it. Sorry, Ben.
Good to have you.
Welcome back.
We were just talking about real estate, and I was telling Sheila that the post office has a lot of real estate all over the Philippines that you guys should talk.
Baka we can help, sir.
Oops, I think he's frozen again. Yeah, it's
So you see the infrastructure, the technical,
the challenge in the post-pandemic era. Yeah, but Sheila, you should, for example, the post office in Makati is right on Buendia and Ayala. I don't know if they own it or they have it leased from the Zobels, right? But certainly centrally located.
Well, most of the post offices tend to be right next to City Hall.
Yeah. Like I said, it's out of necessity in the past, right? It has to be in the center of the activity.
Yeah.
Well, it's too bad he's having connection difficulties, because what I wanted to kind of ask the both of you is, isn't the 3PL sector kind of a solution to the little bit of a difficulty where all your customers are in Metro Manila, but probably the most economically feasible property is outside the city, other than the transport. So isn't that an opportunity for the 3PL industry to kind of bridge that gap?
I think you have to educate us on what 3PL is, Ben.
Third-party logistics. They're growing.
Third-party logistics. Yeah, which the post office would be ideally positioned to handle that.
And let's ask Mr. Postman here.
Yeah,
Mr. Postman, welcome back, sir.
Yeah, sorry about it. We're having connection problem. But yes, that is very interesting, Clink, Ben, Sheila. There were already some talks before about it to develop, but I don't think we have enough time to pursue that project in the Duterte administration. So probably the next administration might continue.
I think maybe for continuity, we need the next president to reappoint Mr. Fulgencio as postman.
That's true.
It would be a good idea. Maybe appoint him to DICT to do something about the
with the technology. Yeah. It's part of the infrastructure project.
That's the problem with logistics, right? I mean, you can't email your packages, right? Hi, sir. Can you hear us now, Mr. Fulgencio? Still, I think there's still
our signal is really
unstable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. I think we have to arrange another perhaps a roundtable interview with Postman Fulgencio so that we can get all of the information. And there's a lot of exciting developments, it seems, happening at PhilPost. But Sheila, you have maybe a final message I think it's quite difficult to move forward. But maybe last message from you, and then assuming that we can get the connection fixed with PhilPost, maybe we'll ask him for some messages, and if it allows, maybe a few questions. Go ahead, Sheila.
Well, Clink, I think that's why we can't have this work from home 100%, because you see,
Yeah.
there's still this
I
big
see your
challenge
point
in
now.
the internet connectivity everywhere. Wherever you are in Manila, it's kind of the same. So it's always good to be in the office when the infrastructure is good. There's cable and all that, and you have a very good internet facility. Well, my message really is for everyone to stay healthy and well, get vaccinated, get boosted, booster shots everywhere now. We need that. We need the whole country to really be confident and to start, hopefully, the last surge. That's this time, and no more further surge to happen, and no lockdowns, because we don't want that. No movement means no, the market also will not move, and that's not good for everyone. And we see a very, somehow, the outlook that I have given is positive, because we see that the last few months and weeks have been so much better compared to, of course, 18 months ago. People are so used to this pandemic already, and they are, despite this, moving on with their plans for the year. And that is good. I think this is a promising start of 2022.
Okay, well said. I would have loved to hear from the postman here he is.
And there's
Sir.
Mr.
Maybe you see we're wrapping up. Maybe a final message from you from the PhilPost.
Yeah, Clint. Sorry about us. I would like to thank all our viewers and the whole public for their patience and support for the post office. I know that we still have a lot of improvements to work on, but please be assured that we are listening. We will continue to strengthen and train our customer service, our digitalization. This will all happen before the next coming weeks, and hopefully we are fully.
So I think we are hearing reassurance from the postman that they will get things done before.
And the other mobile app.
I think we need to really need to schedule something separately with the Postmaster General, because it's really an important agency that really doesn't get enough attention. With that, Ben, I'd like to. You have anything last words to say, Ben?
Well, no, I this is it's interesting to hear from the both of our guests, because this is the one area of the economy that has been not only pandemic proof but has thrived all this time, just because of the way our lives and work have all changed. And what I had kind of wondered about is if the momentum is going to drop a little bit as we get more back to normal, and it doesn't sound like it, and I think that's a good thing. So a little bit of positive news and some things to look forward to is always good after what everybody's been through.
Yeah.
So thank you both.
Thanks, Ben. I think the Postmaster is trying to reconnect. Get Mr. Fulgencio. I'm sorry about the connection, but if there's a chance, maybe a final message from you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Sheila, and the whole.
Well, I think, Ben, it's unfortunate that we have this issue, but I guess we just have to end it here. And I think we will have a part 2 with just the Postmaster General, perhaps at the Manila Times roundtable. Once again, thank you, everyone, and see you at the next Manila Times Business Forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Ben. Sir, thank you.
Sa panahon ng pagbabago at teknolohiya, maraming oportunidad ang nagbubukas para sa isang kumpanya, maliit man o malaki ito. Kaagapay mo ang entrego sa pagtulay ng iyong mamimili tungo sa iyong negosyo. Layunin ng entrego masolusyonan ang bawat suliranin sa fulfillment at logistics sa paraang tama at akma sa iyong pangangailangan. Gamit ng mga makabagong teknolohiya tulad ng auto-sorting machine na kayang magproseso ng higit 10,000 packages kada oras at ang kakayahang serbisyohan ang higit 32,000 barangays sa Pilipinas. Sinisigurado naming bawat lakbay ng padala nyo ay nasa tamang kamay. Bawat sandali, ang padala nyo ang aming prioridad. Saan man sa Pilipinas, lungsod man o probinsya, kami ay matapang na tumataya, mahatid lamang ang inyong padala. Sinisigurado din namin na ligtas ang komunidad sa pagbibigay ng mga solusyon katulad ng contactless payment, katuwang ang GCash at ang Transacto. Hatid namin sa entrego ang pag-unlad mo. Entrego, from you to there.
Under the direct supervision of the Office of the President, the principal postal hub of today's Philippine Postal Corporation, the post office houses a modern and efficient look, aimed at improving the efficiency and delivery of mails, parcels, and money order remittances. As a member of the Universal Postal Union, the post office takes to heart the huge responsibility in fulfilling its mandate. Day in and day out, you'll find post offices nationwide are abuzz with activity. Mails and parcels, money orders, remittances, stamps, and with our vast network of almost 1,400 post offices, our letter carriers continue to serve the public, even reaching the most far-flung communities of the Philippines. And then, the COVID pandemic happened. The post office rallied on and continued its mission to serve the public in whatever way possible. But in March 2021, the post office started to turn over a new leaf as it welcomed its new Postmaster General and CEO, Mr. Norman N. Fulgencio. Upon his assumption to office, Mr. Postman, as he would like to be known, immediately embarked on a mission to set things right, to make things better. With his own brand of quick response leadership, he introduced and implemented an all-encompassing program across all post offices nationwide, presenting the Hatid Malasakit campaign. Hatid Malasakit is the institution's way of reaffirming its commitment and support in the realization of the agenda of Malasakit and Pagbabago to provide better public service. In just a few months, notable improvements were already in effect. Reforms and improvements were instituted. New processes were implemented. New systems were installed. Modifications in handling customer concerns were also put in place. And so far, our efforts have yielded noteworthy positive results. The future looks bright for the post office as bigger, better, and groundbreaking developments are in the horizon. It's the dawn of a new day for the post office. Para sa inyo, para sa Pilipino, serbisyo publiko, serbisyong derecho. This is our commitment. This is our mandate. This is Hatid Malasakit.
We are the post office. We are ready. We are ready.
Bago pa man magsimulang tumigil ang mundo ng dahil sa pandemya, napakadami na namin ginaharap para lang magampanan ang aming tungkulin. Matugunan ang pangangailangan ng nakararami. Simula sa lungkot na dala ng pagsampa hanggang sa iba't ibang klaseng trabaho na dinaranas namin sa araw-araw. Kalakip ang pangako ng magandang bukas. Patuloy kaming babangon para matugunan ang inyong pangangailangan. Patuloy naming iaalay ang aming oras at kakayahan para mapanatili kayong nakangiti. Patuloy kaming maglalayag sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo upang mapanatiling maayos ang inyong kalagayan. Ilan lang kami sa libu-libong manggagawa sa karagatan na nagnanais ng karampatang pagtrato at respeto. Para sa aming napiling larangan, sana sa araw na ito ang nilaan para sa amin, maisip ko rin kami. Nagmamahal, mga marinong